Cocoon Spawn Girls, Chapter 35. I slam a balled-up fist downward with a crash, smashing a door handle clean off a door. I can hear the other side tumble to the ground. The door now opens without any resistance. Clarice and King applaud supportedly. "Nice work, Sophia." She pushes past me, entering inside the newly broken into room. "Oh, sweet! This is totally what we wanted!" I follow her, looking over the hotel room. We had headed all the way up to the top floor of the hotel that we had found in town. We were fortunate to find it without any damage from the spawn. When we arrived, we did notice a torn-apart redhead hanging from the mouth of one of the large-mouthed spawn. It would seem that Declarna had been cleaning up the town of any remaining clones not in spawn form. I suppose she still can't control them until they become spawn, and since they're perfect clones, they must offer a form of resistance against her. It wasn't any of our concern. We were just happy to locate a hotel to rest in. The room we chose to break into was indeed what we were hoping for. A newlywed suite with all the fancy upgrades. There was a huge king bed with intricate lighting positioned all over it hanging from the ceiling. There was a super huge couch with an ottoman that stretched across the entire length. We found underneath a nice sized flat screen TV hanging off the wall in some cabinets a bottle of champagne too. While Clarice continued poking around the small kitchen sectional included in the room, I sped around towards the bathroom, praying to see a bath only found in your dreams. The bath indeed did not disappoint. It was big enough to be a kid's pool and had a whole screen with buttons to control the temperature and jets. I turned the water on and began to fill it as I began to pry off my dirty clothes. Clarice, drawn by the sound of the bath filling, came in with a big grin. "Jumping right to one of the main events already, are we?" I reached around for my bag only to realize I left it in the room. With a I stomped across the bathroom, past Clarice to retrieve it, in only my undergarments. I returned and took a seat on the tile edge of the tub. "After everything we've been through, I have well deserved this." Clarice chuckled. "Well, of course you have. I didn't realize you took the bath so seriously." She began to pull off her crop top. "Let me tie one of my socks into a blindfold for King." She paused. "Actually, you'd probably be into that, King, wouldn't you?" King shrugged his shoulders. "If you wore nicer socks, or if it was another girl, maybe." Clarice made a huff sound and marched off back out of the bathroom. I could hear outside the sounds of her digging around the room for anything she could use. "You could always use some underwear," King jokingly teased. "Don't even joke like that, oh great pervert master," Clarice scoffed. Finally she returned, walking in with a pillowcase tied tightly around her arm, covering King completely. "I can't breathe in here," he whined. "You don't breathe," Clarice snickered. It was funny watching Clarice strip down with a pillowcase tied tightly across her arm. At this point the water had reached high enough, so I shut the water off and began fidgeting with the jet controls. I pulled down my underwear, tossing them onto my jumper skirt, then unclipped my bra and did the same with that. I couldn't help stretching my whole body. It felt amazing to be out of those dirty, dusty clothes. All that sweat from all the running, the grime from destroying a building, probably spawn blood, all of it needed to be cleaned from my soft skin. I slowly dipped my toes into the tub, adjusting to the temp before submerging myself in it. Clarice was right behind me, nude besides her pillow arm. She just jumped right in without even testing the water. A large grin spread across my face as I leaned back in this heavenly water, the jets blasting into my back like the most delightful massage. I rolled from one side to the other as I let the jets brush past all of me. "This is heavenly," Clarice purred, sinking deeper into the water, submerging her face up to her nose and almost forgetting to hold King above the water. When was the last time we got to relax like this? I can't even remember anymore. It was only days ago that a bath was normal, but after all those time loops and everything that happened, it feels like months ago. "So," King's voice came muffled from beneath the pillowcase, "has anyone seen any cute boys lately?" Clarice thrust her arm with King on it down beneath the water while I stared with a surprised look on my face. She brought it back up after a few seconds of submersion. King was coughing under his bag, as if he had lungs that had been filled with water. Okay, my bad for trying to add girls' night sort of conversation." Clarice groaned as she shook her hand about, shaking water off. "Just let us enjoy the water and relax for now, King." "So lame," King bemoaned. "I mean, you two get to enjoy a bath, and like always, I just have to be teased by the sound and left to imagine." I can dunk you again.
No, thank you. I'll be good,
King sighed. I grabbed onto my board from the side of the tub and wrote out a message. Then I looked at it before deciding I wanted to say it. Clarice's attention turned from the soaking bag over to my board and read it. Do you ever think you might get a boyfriend? Clarice raised an eyebrow. Well, do you?
Well, I think it would be lovely if you girls...
King began before being submerged underwater again. Clarice just smiled as she waited for me to finish writing. I held my board up with a slight redness to my face. I suppose I'm not against the idea. Clarice's eyes widened as she reread the board to make sure she read it right, then looked at me with the biggest grin creeping across her face. She let out an excited squeal, kicking her legs, splashing water around in excitement. You're really a magical girl now. I covered my face with my board. Maybe I shouldn't have said anything. It felt like as good a time as any to talk about it, since it came up naturally. But man, this is so embarrassing. So, who's the guy? Got someone in mind with an answer like that? Clarice continued, kicking at me with her burst of girly excitement. I waved my hands, dismissing the notion I'd ever had anyone in mind. I just mean in principle. I don't even know any boys. It's okay, Sophia. Plenty of magical girls end up falling for one of the doctors or male staff. It's basically a rite of passage for magical girls to begin feeling these sorts of things as they fully embrace their new identities. I suppose it gives me comfort to know most other girls go through these sorts of thoughts. I guess after losing Fool's Night, it's just hard to hold on any longer to those bits of who I once was. Like flickering embers caught in the breeze as it passes over the fire. So beautiful, and yet so fleeting as they turn to ash. I knew Fool's Night. He was someone close to me. Yet now I can't even hear their voice in my memories. How low was it? What did he sound like? The voice that was once mine. It's gone now, and I won't ever hear it again. I don't feel bad about it, though. I can't even ask if that's a bad thing, because it just doesn't mean anything to me anymore. Soph? I look up to Clarice. She crawled over to my side and is brushing tears out of my eyes. I hadn't even noticed I'd begun to tear up while in thought. You okay? She asked in a soothing tone. I'm fine. Honestly, I think I'm happy. I held up, giving her a reassuring smile. I proceeded to write about Fool's Night and his betrayal and subsequent immersion with me. I told Clarice about what had happened, and how I had fully absorbed him, and how I no longer felt the weight inside me that wanted to hold on to the past. I guess I'm really one of you now, huh? I grinned as I ran my fingers through my wet hair. Clarice laughed, punching my shoulder. You've always been one of us. She looked down. Though, it's just the two of us right now, I guess. King said something beneath the water, but it only came up as bubbles. Clarice was reminded of her drowning master, bringing him up with a half-smile, nervous to hear what it was he wanted to say. King shook himself off in the bag. It's three of us, he said. Ah, Clarice chuckled nervously. Right, three of us. And another thing, King began. Clarice nervously clenched her eyes, preparing for a scolding. King's bag moved over in front of me, looking up to my face. I couldn't be more proud of the girl you've become. You've come a long way since we first met you, Sophia. He turned back to Clarice. You've grown quite a lot since Sophia entered our lives as well. Aw, shucks. I don't think I've grown at all that much. Mostly just our new look and dressing half decently. King shook his head. I'll admit that our relationship has been pretty closed off. We've kept to ourselves. That's just how we've always been. But, he leaned my way again, since your arrival, Clarice has been socializing more. She stopped acting so shy with her other teammates, and I think she truly made herself a wonderful friend. I felt a wave of happiness after he said that. It's quite a feeling to hear someone say something so truly nice about you. Aw, shucks. Clarice rubbed her head shyly. What can I say? Having a brand new little sister who's so inquisitive about stuff I know? How could I not? You think of me as a little sister? I scribbled and pressed into Clarice's face. Clarice's face turned a little pink as she avoided direct eye contact. Well, yeah. I mean, you're a fresh magical girl, and I'm your senior. Marcia was too, but she had so much time on her own that she didn't really need much. But you were fun. You and Tiki were so helpful to me. I totally appreciate it. Tiki's your team mom for sure, King laughed. The girl's deepest desire is only to nurture the next generation. Clarice and I sighed as we thought about Tiki again. I hope she's okay. Clarice was probably thinking the same thing right now. Could I? I held my board, covering my mouth and body. My hand covered the rest of what I wrote as I nervously moved it. Could I call you Big Sis, Clarice? If not, that's okay. Clarice looked over the words on my board as my eyes peeped over the board, shyly awaiting an answer. Then all at once she pounced onto me, wrapping her arms and King in a bag around me. Yes, of course! Her force knocked me back, and we actually fell back somehow, falling out of the tub, tumbling onto the ground. I lay there naked beside her, as we both regained ourselves on the cold, now wet, marble. Then Clarice began to just laugh and laugh. I can't help laughing as well, but without any sound. We just laugh and laugh as our joy fills this hotel bathroom. I can't remember the last time I was this happy in quite a while. So many time loops later, everything felt so distant. Eventually Clarice composed herself and climbed off the wet bathroom floor. Guess we should throw some robes on now, unless you want to climb back into the bath? I shake my head no, so we move out of the bathroom and over to the closet, where some bathrobes are hanging. We both slide one on, then Clarice unties the soaking pillowcase on her arm and tosses it onto the wet bathroom floor, freeing King.
Happy to be in the sunlight again,
King remarks, shaking off a little more bathwater. He's drier than I expected. We move on to sitting down on the big couch with the ottoman to throw our feet onto. Even with all the destruction, there still seemed to be cable for the TVs to work. We ended up flipping through channels until we finally found some rom-com and stuck with that. I ended up leaning on Clarice as we both enjoyed the movie. I would have liked to share some popcorn, but without the need to eat, and the pain eating causes us, it just wasn't worth it. The sun sets as we enjoy the movie. Right as the movie ends, Clarice lightly shakes me. You awake? I look up at her, nodding that I am indeed awake. She smiles back. Hey, so, I just thought maybe tomorrow, when we set off for this castle, I could tell you a story while we walk. What kind of story? I wrote on my board, which was resting on the ottoman. King's and I's story. I haven't told anyone the full thing, and I really want it to be you. An origin story? I nod enthusiastically in approval of this idea. Clarice grins a smile of excitement as she thinks about looking forward to tomorrow. Might as well head to bed now, huh? I do a big yawn to show how sleepy I am. She giggles, and we both do exaggerated drunk stumbles as we make our way over to the bed and flop down on it. I bury myself under the super soft sheets, rubbing their softness against my face. Clarice snuggles in beside me, fluffing a pillow, and turning another to give King one on the end. I had a lot of fun tonight. Clarice smiles inches from my face. I can only nod and smile back, unable to say anything without my board, which is resting on the nightstand beside me. Clarice turned off the lights on her side, and we both began to fall asleep in the darkness of the hotel room. As I drift off, I think about how exciting tomorrow's going to be. I can't wait to hear this tale as we make our way towards the castle. And when we get there, Marzia might be there, and also Aurelia. Then I can punch her square in the face. I grin as I imagine me uppercutting Aurelia. I end up falling asleep while imagining all the ways I could beat up Aurelia. Clarice rolls towards me again, looking at me sleeping with a big grin, unaware of why I was grinning. Good night, little sis, Clarice whispers softly.
You're really gonna tell her everything,
King whispers from her other side. I am. It can help her better understand space and the cosmos and its role in all of this. King flops back on his pillow.
As long as you're sure.
Clarice rolled on her side. I'm sure. We all slept soundly that night. The battle against Aurelius Bliss was officially over. We had all survived our run-in with the Elemental Guardian Vontavia. What will tomorrow hold for us? End of chapter 35.